As you know, on Sunday night or Monday morning of every week, we post a new expository semiotics explaining why we would choose which lectionary readings. But in these readings, our dream is, and our desire is, to help you read the signs and fondle the details and spot the seminal metaphors, the condensed signs and the stories that are key for preaching to a digital culture. So strap on your seatbelt and join us as we prospect our passages for today. LenTalk number 128 for the 4th of September, 2022. This is the passages are some classic Psalm 1, one of the earliest Psalms that I memorized as a child. Deuteronomy 30, the great, I set before you life and prosperity, death and adversity. Choose life. The Philemon text. I'm going to pick for our little probe, our semiotic probe today, and in this passage, the gospel reading, Luke 14:25 to 33. The key passage here I want us to focus on is, what does it mean to take up our cross, to carry our cross, and to follow Jesus? Verse 28, but let me read you the whole passage since it is so rich and powerful. And we're talking about here, what does it mean? Bonhoeffer called it the cost of discipleship. What does it mean that discipleship costs? So count the cost is basically what Jesus is saying. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, if anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Now, the translation here, NIV, is hate. Some have it turn your back on, family, and kind of renounce. But we'll get into that in just a minute. But hate's a strong word, and it's a strong, hard saying that Jesus is giving us here. So I want to mute it. I don't want to muffle it. But I'm not sure I would have chosen the word hate. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish. Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he's able, with 10,000 men, to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation, while the other is still a long way off, and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. And that's the key thing here. What does it mean to give up all of our attachments, all of our definitions, all of our ambitions, and turn them over to Jesus? Another reason why I wanted to choose this Lucan passage here is I'm doing a series of napkin scribbles. I'm gonna tape them this week on some of the great hymns that we should not lose as we move forward into the future. And I'm not sure I'm going to include this or not, but I've just been dealing with so many great hymns that we no longer sing that have to do with the cross of Christ. And that's why I want to focus here today with you on the difference between burden bearing and cross carrying. But the larger overarching issue is, what are we going to do with the cross? How come nobody talks about the cross? Why do we not sing songs about the cross? When I survey the wondrous cross, one of the Some call it the greatest hymn in the English language. Inspired by Galatians 6:14, God forbid that I should glory save in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, when I survey the wondrous cross, survey doesn't mean here, take a survey or, a surveyor that kind of gets the lay of the land. It means here meditate, contemplate, ruminate, just ponder, as Mary pondered all these things in her heart, and ponder what it means to succumb to the allure or the vain things that charm me most versus the cross of Christ. Love so amazing, love so divine, demands my everything. This phrase here, that sorrow and love flow mingled down. What a beautiful, brilliant metaphor for what happens when the side of Jesus is split. And you remember, out comes gushing and rushing a flow, an issue of water and blood. By the way, this is one of the ways that we know that Jesus did not die from crucifixion. Crucifixion kills you slowly. And Jesus on the cross for only 6 hours. And so what did he die? Well, the issue of blood and water mixed together that came out of his side really testifies to the fact that he died of a heart attack. He died of literally a broken heart. His heart burst. We say today, kind of colloquially, he popped an aorta. But you've got the water, the water, the sorrow, the water of tears, and love, the blood of love, the love blood. The water, sorrow, the blood, love, the marrow of every tomorrow is the sorrow and love that flow mingled down from the cross. And the power of this imagery here, let's not mistake the metaphor. When the first Adam's side was split, a bride was born. The Adam's side, God split the Adam's side was split, and out of that was conceived a bride. When the last Adam's side is split on the cross, a bride, the church, is conceived. Now, it's not born yet, because to be born, it needs what? It needs the breath of the Holy Spirit. So we celebrate the birthday of the church at Pentecost. That's the birth, when it gets the wind that brings it to life. But here, water baptism, blood of the Eucharist, communion, the side of Jesus is split. And the bride, the church, the bride of Christ, is conceived, not born, but conceived. So the power of this image of the cross, the sorrow and love flowing mingled down. Another song I was thinking about for Napkin Scribbles, must Jesus bear the cross alone? I know I'm not going to include this one, but the answer is yes, even though that's not kind of where the hymn goes, but that's why I'm not including it. But yes, that cross is the salvation of the world, and only Jesus can do it. So he does have to bear that cross himself. He's the only one that can save the world. He has to do that and bear that cross alone, so that the rest of us, as that line puts it, all the world go free. Jesus doesn't help him to bear the gospel cross, but he does call us to carry a cross in following him. And unless you carry this cross, and what is that cross? And you don't hear. This is the problem. When's the last time you heard a sermon on the cross? When's the last time you sang a cross hymn? When's the last time you had a conversation about either Jesus' cross or our own crosses these days? You go to seminary, and I live in academic theological context, and there's a critique, and there should be, of the prosperity gospel. The idea that basically coming to Christ is not carrying a cross, but it's coming to get your health and wealth and happiness and joy and not to die to self or to carry your cross, but to get all sorts of rewards. But so you get a critique of the prosperity gospel, but you don't hear much about the cross either. In fact, people who are interviewing candidates who are coming up for ordination in all sorts of tribes. I don't mean just my tribe, not Methodist tribe. I'm talking about the Presbyterian tribe and the Episcopal tribe and the Baptist tribe, all of them. When they're asked about, well, what is your view on the atonement? Where is the cross in your theology? You know, the response that they're getting is, I don't really go there that much. I'm really a resurrection person. I don't do Good Friday. I don't really linger on Good Friday. I don't want to hear about the cross. Although you will hear in seminary jokes about the cross, like the one I heard recently. When it comes to dying on a cross, Jesus absolutely nailed it. I mean, well, hello. It wouldn't be so bad if you heard about the cross all the time, but you don't. And so the only thing you hear is a little sick joke. Golgotha was hell's hill. But Golgotha, hell's hill, was heaven's mount and fount. And Golgotha is where hell and heaven met for battle. And heaven won. So I want to make a plea for us to bring back the cross. I'm a resurrection guy too, but you don't have a resurrection without a death, and you can't have Easter without Good Friday. And so maybe we ought to sing some more songs like "In the Cross of Christ I Glory." At the cross where I first saw the light. It's all about the cross. When I survey the wondrous cross. At the cross, love ran red. Isn't it interesting that Taylor Swift can talk about love running red, and the color of love is blood red, but when the church talks about, that's gross, I don't want to deal with that blood language, it's just so gross. You can tell I wrote a book on preaching called Giving Blood, can't you? But think about it. Jesus was on the cross for how long? Remember? 6 hours. One for each day of creation, the 6 days of creation. And the centurion who had witnessed many, many crucifixions knew the uniqueness of this one from Jesus. In fact, Jesus sang on the cross. We've talked about this in another LenTalk. Greatest song ever sung in the history of the world, and we missed it because we're not familiar with the fact. I mean, the Psalms in Jesus' day weren't numbered. They didn't go, okay, let's do Psalm 1. Let's read Psalm. No, they did. First of all, you didn't read a Psalm. The Psalm's a hymn book, so you chanted. And how did you know what song that they wanted you to chant? Well, you didn't say that we're going to now chant Psalm 22. No, they would just start off, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's how 22 begins. You know how Psalm 22 ends? It is finished. Or God has done it. Oh, by the way, These are the very words of Jesus. We call them the 7 last words, part of the 7 last words. No. These are Jesus is singing here. Even, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. That's from Psalm 31. But Psalm 31 is by commend, it means deposit. It means like when you go to a party and you give them your coat and you come back and get it later. Jesus is committing, he's commending, he's depositing. Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. But he's relinquishing it, but only to get it back. And that's why Psalm 31 is an evening hymn. It's a compline hymn. Monks at monasteries, this is part of their evening prayer. And it was in Jesus' day a bedtime psalm that you would sing, even as you're putting your kids to bed. Jesus sang from the cross, and the power of that song shook. The vibrations of his songs shook the very foundations of the earth itself. Now, if you want to follow me, carry your cross. Cross carrying is not burden bearing. And I come out of Appalachian culture, so I heard a lot about, well, that's just the cross I have to carry. I have to bear that cross. That's just my burden. That's just my cross. And it could be, carbuncles. It could be a thankless job of cleaning out the gutters. I just got to bear that cross today. No, don't trivialize it. Don't minimize it. Don't belittle it by self-pitying pride of kind of what you've got to do. That's just the cross I have to bear. Take up your cross, carry it, carry that cross, and follow me is a death. And that's why this word hate, even though I wouldn't have chosen it, it's still hugely significant. You have to die to self if you're going to follow Jesus. You have to die to self-interest. You have to die to self-first living. You have to die to putting your pleasures first rather than God's pleasures. There's a death involved here. To be born again means you've got to come to terms with some dying, and that's the significance of this. Hate your father. Now, what do you mean hate your father? No, it doesn't mean you hate them. Emotionally hate them. It means, and this is why this is such a powerful phrase here. We can't lose the pungency and the prickliness of it, but. In Jesus' day, his culture is so patriarchal, it's hard for us to imagine. I mean, the father, the male, head of the clan, head of the tribe, was everything. All right, by everything, I mean everything. They didn't have a police force. Who were the police? The father and whatever members of the family he gathered, then the posse that they put together. Who was the fire department? The father and whoever he gathered to put out the fire. Who decided who's going to marry whom? The father. These are called arranged marriages. The father was control everything. Who defined who you were? The father and the blood of that father. And so the family defined every part of who you were. And Jesus is saying, no, you've got to die to that. You got to turn your back on that. You've got to just rip yourself away from being defined by your parentage and by your heritage, and you find your definition in in me. So you die to self so that you can live to God. Now, we don't mind dying for self, and we do that all the time. Every day we die for self in some way. I don't like the word suicide. Especially don't like he committed suicide. We all make decisions every day that lead to a shortening of our life. How much you exercise, what you eat, how much you eat, what you drink, what you inhale. I mean, all of these decisions we make but we will die for self. We'll make death decisions for self every day. We'll die for self every day to pleasure the self, to stimulate the self, to put the self first. But Jesus is calling us to move away from those death decisions, to die for self, where self comes first, to die to self so that you can put God first. And that's where life is to be found. Dying for self leads to death, but dying to self leads to life. So, each time Jesus commands cross-carrying. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life for me will save it. What good is it to gain the whole world and yet forfeit your own self? So, are you ready to take up your cross? Are you ready to carry your cross? So die to self means, are you willing to follow Jesus if it means losing some of your closest friends? Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means alienating your family or some of your family, or alienating their expectations of you and offending that? Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means losing your reputation, losing your good name? We have no idea that in many circles today, increasingly, to say you are a Christian doesn't enhance your reputation, it diminishes it. Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means losing your job? And in some cases, every day this decision is made. Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means losing even your life? There are winners and losers in life. But in the world of cross-carrying, the world's winners are life's losers. And what the world sees as losers, the world's losers, are life's winners. Want to be first? Jesus said, what? Be last. Put God first, you win. Put yourself first, you lose. Winners at life live for God. Losers at life live for self. This is what it means to carry your cross. You die to self. Stop dying for self. Die to self. Transcend yourself. And discover who God made you to be and who you really are. Find life. Be a winner. Win at life.